She said, "I've upgraded. My boss can give me more." I wished her luck. Then I made one quiet call and shared a single thread. 24 hours later, her office badge didn't work. Original post. I, 34 male, had been with Sandra, 29, for 3 years when she announced she'd upgraded from me. We'd met at a networking event for tech startups. I ran security audits for corporate clients. She worked in marketing for a fintech company called Apex Solutions. Nothing fancy about how we got together, just two people who clicked over terrible wine and worse appetizers. Sandra moved into my condo after about a year. Split rent evenly, split groceries, split everything down the middle. She was big on fairness and independence, always made sure to pay her share. I respected that. She had ambition too, always talking about climbing the corporate ladder, making 6 figures by 30, all those career goals people set. Her boss, Richard Townsend, came up in conversation occasionally. He was 42, divorced, drove a Porsche he'd definitely mention within 5 minutes of meeting you. Sandra would roll her eyes talking about him at first. Richard thinks he's God's gift to marketing, or Richard spent 20 minutes talking about his golf handicap in our team meeting. Standard annoying boss stuff. That started changing maybe 6 months before everything blew up. The eye rolls turned into, "Actually, Richard had some really smart insights today, and Richard's taking me to this client dinner. It's a huge opportunity." She started dressing different for work. Not wildly different, just more polished, more expensive. Came home with designer bags she claimed were sales, but I'd see the price tags in trash. $800 for a purse wasn't my definition of a sale. The late nights started around the same time. "Richard needs this pitch deck perfect, or big client presentation tomorrow. Working late." Always reasonable excuses. I'd offer to bring her dinner at the office. She'd say the team was ordering in. I'd ask what time she'd be home. She'd say she wasn't sure. Classic signs, right? But I trusted her. Believed in her career ambitions. Didn't want to be that boyfriend who gets suspicious every time work gets demanding. My buddy Kyle worked in HR at a different company, but knew people at Apex. We grabbed beers one night and he mentioned he'd heard some gossip about a marketing director there sleeping with his report. Didn't name names, but something in my gut twisted. I asked casually if he knew who. He said he'd heard Richard something, and some girl in her late 20s. I went home that night and paid more attention. Sandra's phone was always face down now. She'd take calls in the other room. Her laptop stayed password protected even though it never was before. When I'd walk up behind her while she was texting, she'd close out of conversations. All subtle stuff that individually meant nothing, but together painted a picture I didn't want to see. Confronted her on a Tuesday night. Nothing dramatic, just asked straight up, "Are you seeing Richard?" She didn't even try to deny it. Just looked at me with this cold expression and said, "We've been together for 4 months. I was going to tell you eventually." For months. 120 days of lying to my face. Why? Was all I could manage. Because he can give me more than you can. Better lifestyle, better connections, better future. He's already talking about making me senior director when he gets promoted to VP. You do security audits for 50 companies. He's building an empire. So this is about money and career? It's about being with someone on my level. Someone who understands ambition. You're comfortable with your little consulting business, and that's fine, but I want more. She said it like she was explaining basic math to a child. "When are you moving out?" I asked. "Actually, Richard has a penthouse downtown. I'm moving in with him this weekend. You can keep the condo, keep the furniture, whatever. I'm upgrading." That word, upgrading. Like I was an old phone she was trading in. "All right," I said. "Good luck with the upgrade." She seemed surprised I wasn't fighting or begging. Packed 2 suitcases that night and left. Didn't even take most of her stuff. Said she'd buy new things. Richard's money, I guess. After she left, I sat there for a while just processing. The betrayal hurt, sure. But the way she'd talked about it, so calculated, so transactional, that hurt worse. I wasn't a person to her. I was a stepping stone she'd outgrown. Then I remembered something from about a year ago. Sandra had come home frustrated because Richard had asked her to fudge some numbers on a campaign report. Make the engagement metrics look better than they were to impress potential investors. She'd been uncomfortable with it, asked my opinion. I told her to document everything and refuse if it crossed ethical lines. She'd laughed it off, said it was just creative presentation and everyone did it. At the time, I'd let it go. Now, I wondered what else Richard had convinced her to help with. I did security audits for corporate clients. Part of my job was understanding regulatory compliance, data protection laws, financial reporting standards. Fintech companies like Apex Solutions operated under strict regulations. If they were misrepresenting metrics to investors, that wasn't just unethical, it was fraud. I made one call Thursday morning to Gerald Martinez, an old colleague who'd moved into forensic accounting and worked with the SEC on financial fraud cases. We'd grabbed lunch a few times a year, kept in touch. Casual call, asked how his family was doing, mentioned I'd heard some concerning rumors about a fintech company potentially inflating their user engagement numbers for investor pitches. Which company? Gerald asked. Apex Solutions. Marketing director named Richard Townsend might be worth looking into. You got evidence, or just rumors? Just what I've heard through the grapevine. But if someone were to look at their Q2 investor deck versus their actual platform analytics, there might be some interesting discrepancies. Gerald was quiet for a second. I'll pass it along to the team that handles these tips. Can't promise anything. That's all I'm asking. We hung up. That was Thursday at 10 a.m. Thursday evening, I remembered something else. There was a Reddit thread about toxic startup culture where people anonymously shared horror stories about their companies. I'd seen it months ago, couldn't remember the exact subreddit, but found it after some searching. The forum had maybe 15,000 members, mostly tech workers venting about bad bosses and unethical practices. I created a throwaway account and posted a single thread. VP candidate at major fintech company, rhymes with Apex Solutions, is sleeping with his direct report and promoted her over more qualified candidates after the affair started. Also routinely asks team to manipulate campaign metrics for investor presentations. Company is raising Series C funding next month. Investors should probably know they're getting doctored numbers. Didn't name names. Didn't provide proof. Just put it out there and logged off. The thread got maybe 30 upvotes and a few comments saying, sounds like every tech startup ever, and report it to their board. I figured it would disappear into the void. Posted it at 11 p.m. Thursday night and went to bed. Friday morning, my phone rang at 6 a.m. Sandra, crying. What did you do? I was barely awake. What are you talking about? My badge doesn't work. Security escorted me out. Richard's been suspended. They're investigating the entire marketing department. What did you do? I sat up, actually surprised things had moved this fast. I didn't do anything to you, Sandra. I made a phone call about potential financial irregularities at your company. That's all. You're lying. This is about Richard and me. If your badge doesn't work because the company is investigating fraud, that's on you and Richard, not me. They're saying we falsified investor reports, that we manipulated data. Did you? Silence. Sandra, did you help Richard fake those numbers? It wasn't. We were just presenting things in the best light. It's not fraud. If you knowingly misrepresented data to investors, it's textbook fraud. That's a federal crime. You did this on purpose. You ruined my career because I left you. I made one phone call to someone who investigates financial crime. If your company is clean, nothing happens. If there's actual fraud, that's a Richard problem. And apparently a you problem. She hung up. Called back 3 times. I didn't answer. Kyle texted me around noon. Dude, did you see what's happening at Apex Solutions? SEC opened an investigation. Marketing VP got suspended. His entire team is under review. Wild. I texted back. Just heard. Crazy. The Reddit thread I'd posted had blown up overnight. Someone had screenshot it and shared it on Twitter. That tweet got picked up by a tech news blogger who wrote a piece about troubling allegations at Apex Solutions. By Friday afternoon, legitimate journalists were digging into it. The SEC investigation that Gerald's team had apparently fast-tracked gave the story credibility. By Monday, it was a full scandal. Apex Solutions CEO released a statement about taking allegations seriously and conducting internal review. Richard Townsend was officially terminated. Sandra and 3 other marketing team members were placed on administrative leave pending investigation. The actual evidence came from their own systems. Once investigators started looking, they found a pattern of inflated metrics across multiple investor presentations. Richard had been systematically doctoring campaign performance data for 18 months. Sandra's fingerprints were all over the reports as the person who'd compiled the numbers. She texted me Tuesday. I'm being charged with securities fraud. My lawyer says I could face prison time. This is your fault. I replied, you falsified documents that defrauded investors out of millions of dollars. That's your fault. I just pointed people in the right direction. I was following orders from my boss. That's a conversation for your lawyer and the DA. Good luck. She tried calling 15 more times that week. I blocked her number. The full story came out over the next month. Richard had been running the scheme to inflate Apex's valuation before their Series C funding round. He'd brought Sandra in on it, promised her a promotion and partnership if she helped. She'd agreed because she saw dollar signs and career advancement. They'd inflated user engagement by 40%, doubled their reported conversion rates, completely fabricated some client success stories. Investors who'd committed based on those numbers pulled out immediately. Apex's valuation tanked. The Series C round collapsed. 17 people lost their jobs in the subsequent layoffs. Richard got charged with securities fraud, wire fraud, and lying to federal investigators. Sandra got charged as an accomplice. Her lawyer tried to work out a plea deal where she'd testify against Richard in exchange for reduced charges. Last I heard, she was looking at probation and a massive fine if she cooperated fully. Gerald called me about 6 weeks after my initial tip. That lead you gave me turned into a proper case. Probably saved some investors from losing millions in a fraudulent funding round. Just connected some dots. You know the SEC has a whistleblower program, right? Financial reward for tips that lead to successful enforcement. This could qualify. Not interested. Wasn't about money. Fair enough. What was it about? Justice, I guess. Someone thinking they could upgrade from me like I was disposable, then finding out her upgrade was built on fraud seemed like information the world should have. He laughed. Cold but effective. Sandra reached out one last time, about 3 months after everything went down. Different number, so my block didn't catch it. I'm sorry. I was wrong about everything. Richard used me. He's throwing me under the bus in court. My career is destroyed. I lost everything chasing something that wasn't real. I just wanted you to know I understand what I threw away now. I read it twice and deleted it without responding. What was there to say? She'd made her choices. Called me insufficient, disposable, not enough. Found out her upgrade was a criminal who dragged her into federal charges. My life moved on pretty quickly. Threw myself into work. Actually expanded my consulting business. Hired 2 people, took on bigger clients. Started dating again after a few months. Met Emma at a coffee shop. She's a teacher, couldn't be more different from Sandra. We take things slow. She thinks ambition is about making a difference, not making 6 figures. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel guilty about that phone call or that Reddit post. But then I remember Sandra's face when she said upgrading, and how easily she'd dismissed 3 years together. Remember that she participated in fraud that could have screwed over legitimate investors just for a promotion and a penthouse. I didn't make her commit crimes. I just made sure the right people knew to look. The rest was consequences of choices she'd already made. Richard ended up pleading guilty and got 18 months in federal prison plus restitution. Sandra got 8 months probation, 5 years of supervised release, $150,000 in fines, and a permanent record that basically nuked any chance of working in corporate America again. Her upgrade turned into the biggest downgrade of her life. And me? I'm doing fine. Business is good. Emma's good. Life's good. I sleep just fine at night, knowing that sometimes karma needs a little phone call to point it in the right direction. Sandra wanted to upgrade to someone who could give her more. Turns out what he gave her was a criminal record and a ruined career. Careful what you upgrade to. The latest model sometimes has hidden defects.